Hi there, Nancy here. Listen up as I share my latest tip of focusing on large gift fundraising.
How to talk to a major donor. I know that seems scary because when we say that word, and actually I'm changing my words just to relax people a bit, is large donors, large gift donors. Maybe just let's get away from the word major donors because that is the word we use in our industry, but how to talk with large gift donors. And again, we've defined it at a certain level. It might be 500, it might be 1,000, it might be 5,000. So whatever that threshold is, that's not too scary. We're not talking about asking someone for $1 million write off. That may come later, but let's start and let's get comfortable asking. So start at that threshold amount. So really the first thing to think about when you're thinking about talking with donors, large gift donors, is to keep the donor central in your thoughts. When I say that, I mean take the focus off of you. When I said I didn't want anything to do with asking people for money, when the college president asked me to oversee the foundation, all the thought was on me. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. I've never done that before. I'm not prepared. All the thought was on me. And I was not focused on the needs and the people that being that conduit. The need, the scholarship students, that's what I was focused on, is getting scholarships for students. And those who had the means to support scholarships. There were lots of people who wanted to support scholarships. So focus on the donor. Keep them central in your mind. That leads to number 2 is look for dots that you connect. Okay? So you're not going to just walk up to somebody, a stranger, and just start talking about your mission. You're going to talk to someone who maybe you don't know well and ask them about something they are an expert in, something they know about. You see, I'm taking the focus off of me and focusing on the potential donor. That's so important here. And if I had done that from the very beginning, I would have gone faster than it took me to understand fundraising. Then you want to think about asking for advice. So once you figure out what the dots are that you're trying to connect, you want to ask for advice in their area of expertise or something they know about. You may not consider them an expert, but a lot of times they're an expert in an area, or just something they know about, if that makes more sense. Something they know a little bit more about than you, or they've had experience with. That kind of makes them an expert. And then last is be yourself. Always be yourself. Make sure you're being you. And I have a funny story that pops in my head. You may have heard me tell this, but it is so classic and it tells the story. This has nothing to do with fundraising, but you'll see what I mean when I tell this. My husband and I were at a lake house of a friend's, and so they let us use their lake house. Someone knocked on the door and said, hey, we're having a gathering of people, and we just invite you to come on down if you want to. It's tomorrow. Just come on. And so we thought, okay, well, that'll be fun. We don't know anybody here. We're just guests in the area of this cabin. So we went and we were talking to different people and chatting and kind of in a circle of probably 8 or 10 or 12 people, and introduced myself. And then this gentleman people were kind of talking to, and I said my name, and he said, well, I'm John Grisham. And I said, well, that's an easy name to remember. You know, the writer, the famous writer from Mississippi. And I just laughed and I said, that's an easy name to remember. He was an older gentleman and just so kind. And so I ended up talking with him just by himself. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. So I got back to the cabin and my husband said, oh my gosh, you got to know Mr. Grisham. How was that conversation? I said, he is so nice. It was enjoyable to talk with him. And I said, who all did you visit with? And he said, you do know who he was, don't you? And I said, well, no. He said, that's John Grisham, the writer's dad. And I said, oh my gosh, I did not know that. And the next day, I went to this local coffee shop, and he and his wife were in there. And I walk in the door, and he's waving his hand, calling my name like we're best friends. Tells me to come over, come over. And of course, I know him then. And I feel like a different person because now I know who he is. And I'm probably not like I was the day before. The point of this is I was myself. I didn't know who he was. And I was relaxed and I was just chatty with people who were in the neighborhood that invited us over. So I say that to a point is if you are introduced to a large gift donor, a major donor, don't freak out and not be yourself. Be who you are, and you want to feel that best friends like he was with me. And the funny thing is, probably all the other people there knew who he was, and I didn't, and they shied away from him, or they couldn't be themselves, or all they wanted to do is ask about their one son. There were other family members. I just wasn't focused on that one son of his, and I was chatting with him about other things. That's the point. It's really key to be yourself as a fundraiser and connect with people and connect with them on a personal level. And don't feel like that you're always after their money. You're interested in them as a person and not their pocketbook. And that needs to come through. And people can sniff out a phony or someone who's not being themselves or is not relaxed but is being guarded. I want people to be professional, but be yourself. And think about that when you're meeting people and talking with people. Just be you. If the person can have that genuine conversation.
Be sure you are signed up to receive my quick tips and strategies each week by clicking the link here. See you next time.